Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. And as promised, we are rolling right along here with the next step of the Brawler's Guide, specifically taking a look at the gear that's going to be ideal and work the best for you with the particular build that we have in mind here. And starting us off, let's just go ahead and just roll right through this. We have punching daggers, or Qatar. These deal 1d4 plus your strength modifier in damage, critical on a 20, and they do times 3 damage when you confirm the crit. Now, you're not going to use these all the time. What you want is to get one that's cold iron and the other one adamantium to overcome damage reduction, because otherwise your bare-handed damage is going to readily outpace these. This is again just for overcoming that damage reduction, especially if it's significant, because if you have the pummeling style feat, when you make your full attack against a target, you are going to stack all your damage together before damage reduction is applied. So in instances where it just seems like you're really not doing that much damage, break these out and, maybe have the quick draw feat handy. Or if it's not something that you have just in your permanent roster, you have, of course, your martial flexibility. And kind of going along in the armed category of gear, the Danbong. These deal only 1d3 plus your strength and damage. They crit on a 19 to 20 for some reason for times 2 damage. They have a 10-foot range increment, so you can throw these pretty reliably. And these have the blocking trait. They'll give you a +2 bonus on grapple checks. I'd argue that you could still punch with these in your hands, but technically that would be a house rule. So, ask your DM, but personally I don't see any reason why you couldn't, because, it's just basically a stick with a little bit of a grip to it that you can use to kind of move and block, get the different pressure point things going, lock up joints and the like, stuff like that. So again, I think you could punch. You should be able to punch with these, and if you can, that definitely makes them a bit superior to the punching dagger. You can certainly have these made out of metal as well, so same idea, one cold iron, one adamantium. But anyways, going on from there, for your armor, you're going to want to go with a chain shirt. This is going to be your prime choice, other than things like if you take a medium armor proficiency feat and then you get a breastplate made out of mithril, then that will of course work a little bit better for you. Celestial armor is another popular one, but since this is going to be most likely what you can get and make purchase of, this will be your armor of choice, particularly when you can get it made in mithril and sleep comfortably without any sort of penalty. That way, if an ambush happens at night, and if your DM's anything like me, they love to throw ambushes like that at you, get the brawling enchantment put on this as quick as possible. This will get you a +2 bonus to hit, damage, and to your grappling combat maneuver bonus and defense. So all the way around, it's pretty hard to find much better that doesn't require significant investment on your part. Also, this one's just a staple for any class. It's the Cloak of Resistance, returning once again to this equipment list. This will be important for your weaker will saves. This will add a bonus to all of them, but will is what you want to boost more of, because it's going to be your downfall every time. And this one's an interesting choice here. Coming up next, we have the Deliquescent Gloves. I might be mispronouncing that, but I'm giving it my best shot. These gloves give your attacks, armed and unarmed, the corrosive quality and an immunity to Ooze's acid attacks. These will add 1d6 points of acid damage overall. This is actually just really kind of cool. I like these as a glove choice. There's not a lot of creatures out there with resistance to acid damage, and although again this is more of a house rule, but the fact that you're able to ooze acid now, I would say that does a lot to affect the sturdiness and quality of, say, iron bars. walls, different sort of inanimate objects like that. But again, that's me, house rule, check with your DM, but I think it's a really cool idea. And again, this next one is another staple for any class, and that's the Ring of Protection. This gives you a bonus to all of your armor class types, so your regular armor class, flat-footed, and touch armor class are affected by this. This will be incredibly important for any frontline fighter, not just a light armored brawler. Although in our case, since we are a frontline fighter, better armored than a monk, but not as well armored as, say, a fighter or even a ranger, having any extra bonus that you can stack on what you already have is going to be absolutely paramount. This will help you survive a lot longer, on top of having this larger hit die size of a D10 in comparison to a monk's D8. And then another one that had cropped up on the monk's item list, the Amulet of Mighty Fists is going to be useful for you as well. The only drawback, once again, is just the incredible expense for the most useful version, +5, sitting at a whopping 100,000 gold piece price point. But enchantments like Axiomatic, Chaotic, Good, Evil, Speed, they're all applicable up to that +5 total. Each of those has their own point value, so you're not going to get everything necessarily. Pick out what is going to be most useful for you, or if you come across this as a random reward, then you know, hey, so much the better. You didn't have to spend money on it. Maybe it doesn't quite mesh up exactly how you'd like, but, you know, still very useful to have. Also, another one stolen straight from the monk item list, the Monk's Robe. Brawlers will get as much benefit out of this as the monk. You get your class AC bonus and unarmed strike damage ramped up as if you were 5 levels higher. That's huge to have. This is an item you're not going to see till a little bit later on in your character's stage of existence, you know, around level 10 to 14-ish or so, maybe 15. But this will still be incredible to pick up if you can get it. And you can wear it over your armor, so this does not interfere with anything like that. This is awesome. Also, since we're focusing on ramping up strength, belts of physical might will be absolutely paramount for you if you can get one. You want strength for sure, and it's a toss-up between dexterity or con for the additional bonus. I lean towards dex just because it's a prime stat and will increase your armor class, your reflex save, initiative, and various skill rolls, some of which you are proficient with. But the constitution does give you extra hit points, and the bonus to your fortitude save is useful. It's by no means nothing to sneeze at. But I do think you get a broader benefit out of dexterity, purely looking at this from a mathematics and effectiveness standpoint. And the last items on our list today, the Ioun stones, however you pronounce this, these stones are interesting. There's a lot of them, and they all provide different benefits that are nice to incredible to have. But the specific ones you're going to want to try to get are going to be stones like the Magenta Prism, which gives a +2 bonus to any ability score, changing once daily. Typically, you're going to go for strength, but on occasion, hey, maybe you need to switch over to dex, or getting a couple extra hit points by popping over to con will be useful. Point is, this offers you a bit of flexibility there, and you can ramp up your strength, which will increase your chances of hitting and doing a little bit more damage. Then you also have an option like the Lavender and Green Ellipsoid, which absorbs any spell of 8th level or lower to a maximum of 50 spell levels absorbed. So 10 5th level spells, some combination thereof, the different spell levels. It doesn't last forever, but you know what? When somebody's aiming a disintegrate spell at you and you don't have to worry about rolling that fortitude save, my God, is it great to have. So definitely keep this one around. It's going to be very handy. There are more other stones out there with other varying abilities that may be more or less useful for you. Things that increase different knowledges and some different skills that you're not proficient with or the like. Definitely pass off to the rest of the party members or sell them for gold. But anything that's going to boost your strength, armor class, your attack bonuses, keep those around if you can. And last but not least, this is not a piece of equipment, but rather a specific enchantment. The returning enchantment. You want this for your hand axes or danbong weapons, and only if you're finding yourself needing to fight at range against opponents with damage reduction. So that can come up. It, depending on how much, will affect how useful this enchantment is. But since you're going to want to overcome a target's damage reduction, you're probably throwing cold iron axes or adamantium axes, and they're going to be enchanted, so you want them to come back, and this is what that'll do. Uh, these enchanted thrown weapons can be tricky to track down during and after a fight, so having this enchantment will have them come straight back to you, so you can keep that investment of hard-earned riches right there in your hand. Just not only that, but it's going to deal a significant amount of damage too, especially if you're using pardon me, if you're using your martial flexibility to boost your ranged combat skills. You'll see your damage skyrocket, and so you may as well have something, maybe not your primary weapon, maybe not something you invest a whole lot in, but definitely something you want some investment in, just so you can help maintain your combat viability through whatever scenario you may find yourself in. And certainly there's much more equipment that can be useful to you than just what's found here. I mean, even basic equipment like caltrops or getting flasks of oil can always be useful for whatever character class, creating all kinds of interesting tricks and traps. And different kinds of magic gear can be incredibly handy as well. If you're playing in a campaign that focuses a lot on survival, having a ring of sustenance that helps generate food, or something that reduces your food intake requirements, will be absolutely invaluable in those scenarios. But it's really just going to depend on the situation at hand. And with that said, we are going to go ahead and wrap up. This is a very brief look at gear, but by no means is this list small, and certainly there's more that can be added, as I mentioned before. If you liked today's video, go on down there and click the like button. And if you want to see more, there's going to be a couple of videos popping up over here that you may find interesting. And if you've been enjoying content here so far, then go on down there and click the subscribe button. We'll be happy to have you here joining the rest of us. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.